Welcome to the Exit Rich podcast, where the leading authority on buying, selling, fixing, and growing companies, Michelle Seiler Tucker, is dedicated to helping you find the path to retire rich and move on to your next adventure by exiting your business for the desired dream price you deserve. Get ready to exit rich with your host, Michelle Seiler Tucker.
All right, welcome to another episode of Exit Rich. I'm so excited to have Sara. I'm so excited to have you on the program. So Sara Connell is a best-selling author and the founder of Thought Leader Academy, where she helps coaches, writers, and entrepreneurs become best-selling authors. I think that's amazing because a lot of times entrepreneurs are sometimes a best kept secret because nobody knows who they are or what they do. So that's amazing. And then she also helps authors and in-demand TEDx speakers, which I want to do. You're going to help me with that, Sara. Yes. And then she has been featured on, oh my God, Oprah Winfrey. Are you kidding me? That is my dream. That's my bucket list.
It was the highlight.
And then Good Morning America, The View, Fox Chicago, and NPR, Katie Couric, and TEDx. Her writing has appeared in the New York Times, y'all. New York Times, wow, Forbes, The Quarterly, Good Housekeeping, and Parenting. Her first book, Bringing in Finn, was nominated for the Elle Magazine Book of the Year. So, Sara, welcome to the show. I'm so excited to have you on.
And so happy to be here, Michelle.
So before we jump into the book launch, because today you're launching The Science of Getting Rich for Women. Yes, and you know what? I have my copy here. And I'm so excited and thrilled to be featured in this book. It's an amazing book, wonderful book. And we're going to jump right into this. But Sara, real quick, I know we're pressed for time here because today's your launch day, so you are busy. So tell us how you got started and how you went from making $20,000 a year to over $1 million a year.
Yeah, not the numbers you would want to see, Michelle, with the women that you help sell their businesses. So, you know, I definitely grew up in that thing. I'm a creative, I'm a writer, and there's that mythology in our culture a lot about the starving artist. And I definitely played that out. It was like, I don't understand numbers and I didn't empower myself. And so I wanted to be a writer. I thought I wasn't good enough. I took a bunch of jobs I hated, you know, the journey a lot of us take. But when I was in one of those jobs, it was a very Me Too, sexually abusive job that a lot of us, you know, had those kind of experiences. And I found a book that I credit as saving my life. I was in a really dark place. It was a book by a woman named Margaret Bullitt Jonas. So she's not a famous celebrity. She's a woman who told her story in a memoir called Holy Hunger. And I was in a trajectory where I was spiraling, spiraling into disordered eating. I was in depression. I was having this trauma at work. And I didn't know how to get out. And that book saved my life. And when that happened, I decided, you know what? I don't think I'm good enough. I don't, all the stuff that some of us have. I know you didn't have it as much, Michelle. And I love your story for that because you were more like, I'm going to show them. And I love that. And it took me a little longer to get there, but I decided to go for it anyway. I said, I'm going to become a writer. I'm going to pay this forward and I'm going to see what happens. And that led to, not right away, but that did lead to the first book and the book deal and Oprah and all these exciting things, that we love to have happen as authors. And when I got through that first book experience, I said, I'm going to dedicate the rest of my life to helping other women, particularly who have a mission and a story, and help them get that on that TEDx stage, get that best-selling book so they really can make an impact.
Yeah, I love that. That's amazing. So congratulations on the book launch. That's so exciting. I've written 4 books myself. I just had a book launch with Exit Rich.
Yeah.
I know how tough it is, all the things that go into it. So excited to be featured in this book. Very excited about it. Tell us about The Science of Getting Rich and dig into the book a little bit. Give our listeners, some golden nuggets so they can go out and purchase your book.
Yeah. So I was taking a walk, as I did during the pandemic, a lot of days. And I heard a statistic, it was at the end of last year in 2021, that said women had lost $800 billion in the pandemic. That was the global hit that women took, whether it was from furloughs, getting 800. And I thought that has to be a mistake. It had
800 billion.
billion with a B. And I thought there's no way. So I went home and it was an Oxfam study and I looked up a few other things and that is actually the number. And when I realized that, I thought it was like a punch to the gut because for so long I'd struggled to earn money. You know, I'm a writer, all the stuff I said, and we were having our first $1 million year in our company. And that was a big milestone for us. And
that
I
was
said,
in 2020?
This was in 2021, last year.
And
and
that was your first year you broke $1 million.
So it took us 3 years. It took 3 years in the business to break the $1 million. But this is coming from someone who, you know, was making 20,000. So it was a real, you know, these are big jumps. And I just said, you know, I want to pull out what I teach our clients in Thought Leader Academy and put it into this book where I can give a roadmap. So if someone is like me and said, I don't understand numbers and I'm a creative and I'm a mom and I'm a whatever the reason is, they've thought they can't have that financial success. I know it can happen because it's happened for me and hundreds of our, you know, clients. And so I put that together and then I sought out 25 other self-made women, millionaires, multimillionaires like yourself, Michelle. And I want everyone to know, this is funny. I met Michelle because of her book. So a friend of mine read Michelle's book and was in a mastermind with you, it's Sarah Sullivan. And she called me and said, we have to do Michelle's book for a book club together. We need to learn this and start thinking about setting up our businesses to sell it later on. And I'd never thought about it. And so we got your book and I got it in many forms. I listened to the audio, I read it, you know, all the things. And it's such a great book. And so that's how I connected with you. It was through your book.
And without the book, you might have never connected with me. I think everybody should have a book, you know. I do think it's very difficult to make money as an author. You know, I use it for lead generation. So I make money from lead generation, but it's very difficult because there are so many books being published. But you know, to me, the objective is lead gen, brand awareness, brand recognition, that type of thing. So tell us a little bit about what the book is about.
Yeah. So the book essentially, I offer what I call the secret equation. Okay. So just to give a little history really quickly, The Science of Getting Rich is a book, that title is from a book by a man named Wallace Wattles, who wrote that text in the 1920s. And it was very much, he was a contemporary of Napoleon Hill and some of these men that were writing in the 20s about using your thoughts, your mindset to create wealth. And it's a great book and I've loved it, but I kept thinking, why are we still, it's very patriarchal, right? It's very a man shall and he, and, you know, all the stuff. And I said, I wish there was a woman's version of that book. And then I found out because it's in the public domain, it's over 100 years old, I could use the title and sort of have a fun homage to the original book, but right from the perspective of what I needed as a woman, what were the mindsets I needed to overcome? And then what were the actions that really worked for me and for our, you know, now thousands in our community to take. And so I really put our whole system. I put the step-by-step guide to going from struggling to making $1 million a year or more, or whatever someone's goal is. And I gave the whole playbook. The first half of the book is just my playbook that I teach and that I use, and I hold nothing back, so anyone can use it. And then the stories of you and the other 24 women who share their tips.
And so do you have, is it like 5 steps, 6 steps, or is it something you can rattle off quickly with the steps?
It is. I'm going to say, I'll share it here. So I have a 4-step equation because it is called the science. So I thought we better have an equation in here, a little chemistry equation. So I really do believe it starts, and Michelle, you and I have talked about this, with generating an inner experience. The first step is being the person, the leader who is a multimillionaire, or because sometimes we are very much stuck in what's happened up until now. If I stayed stuck in that $20,000 a year mindset, I would never have generated anything new. So I started asking myself every day, well, what does the 7-figure CEO do here? And that sounds like nonsense because I wasn't anywhere close to that. But by thinking and being in the room with and learning from and reading books by women and men and other leaders who were multimillionaires and creating successful businesses, I needed to start being that. So first is an identity shift. And it's about knowing we're worth it, that we're capable, even if we haven't experienced that abundance before. The second step in the equation.
Can I say something real quick?
Yeah.
So I think that's very, very important. When I used to work at Xerox, when I had that job, I said I would never get a job. You know, I was a senior manager, high volume manager at Xerox. And then within 6 months, they asked me to throw my hat in the ring and really interview for a regional vice president overseeing 100, 150 sales reps. You'll never get it because you've only been here for 6 months. I said, well, if I'm never going to get it, why should I go through this grueling 3-month process? And they said, for the experience, because you will learn so much through this process. But just be, so for me to think, to really think like, hey, I deserve this. I'm going to get this. I went out and bought a Mont Blanc pen. Remember how famous they were back in the day?
Yes.
So I bought a Mont Blanc pen. I bought a new suit, a couple of new suits. And I'm like, you know what? I belong. I'm going to get this position. And it made me feel more sophisticated. It made me feel like a winner. So I think just be is amazing. I'm sorry. Go ahead to number 2.
No, I love that, Michelle, because you were doing it. That's exactly, it's like identity drives behavior. We know this from neuroscience. We know it from psychology. Identity drives behavior. So you adapted, you embodied the new identity of that person who was absolutely getting that position. And look what you've accomplished, right? And I got to start embodying that identity. The second step is one that's not usually in a lot of these personal growth books, but it was crucial for me, which is release. And so what happens is often we start being, I'm going to be a multimillionaire, I'm going to sell a company, I'm going to go on Oprah, whatever those visions are. And then there's consciously we're all in, but under the surface, there's all kinds of stuff subconsciously and in whatever you want to think of energy and any of these ways. We don't even have to get woo. It's actually science, which is that we have, a lot of the iceberg, meaning what drives our behaviors under the surface. And so I interviewed 4 women neuroscientists, and they all use different modalities to help people clear those counter purpose ideas that are going on below the surface. So you're saying, I want to have a multi-million-dollar business and sell it. And then underneath someone's going, well, you can't be more successful than your father. You can't outshine your sister. You don't deserve, you were told by your teacher that you're not good at math, like whatever the nonsense that we took on. So we really want to clear. So a second chapter of the book is really helping you clear out and using some of these modalities. And we actually have them on the website that goes with the book. The actual neuroscientists are taking you through as a reader, those techniques. So you can use NLP if you've heard of that. You can use hypnosis. I mean, there's, anything. The point is to get them out of our way so that we're not doing this push pull. I want it, but I can't. And then it feels like we're swimming upstream, or we sabotage, or it just takes so long. So we're going to clear all that out of the way in the second step.
Because it's all based upon how you act is really based upon your paradigms. If you ever listen to Bob Proctor.
Yep.
But that happened to me when I was going to lead Xerox, which was a 6-figure position with great benefits. Everybody's like, are you crazy? You're going to go start a franchise sales, franchise consulting business and franchise development business. Are like, you're crazy. You're even 6 figures of benefits. And then at some point when you keep hearing it, you start to believe it.
Yes.
Now for me, when I hear those thoughts, I'm like, oh, shut up. Devil, get out of my head.
Yes. That's why you're such a badass. I love it.
but you got to focus on the why. So if you really focus on your why, it'll drown out all the naysayers and it'll drown out the voices in your head.
Yes. I love it. So after we embody that identity, we really start thinking and acting like that person. We clear out the junk that's in underneath. The third step is do, and that's simply we align our actions with that new identity, right? So again, Michelle, if I'm saying, okay, I want to be one of Michelle's clients in 3 years who sells my company, then I've got to start taking different actions, right? I get to make sure I have an operations man. I'm thinking about EBITDA. I'm learning. I am going to take new actions based on that vision than if I say, oh, I'm just going to kind of do my thing and I'll just zero out at the end of my company and whatever I was thinking I was going to do. So the new actions are fun because that's where we really have the skin in the game. That's where you're hiring before you're ready. That's where you're investing in a mentor. That's where you're taking risks and going and pitching yourself to, I have a meeting tomorrow. I can't give details because, all those things are confidential until you sign the deal. But we might have a potential kind of partner coming in and opening up a new division of our company. That would never have happened a year ago because I wasn't doing bolder actions. And so what did that come up for you too, Michelle? Did you start taking after you got the pen? Like
1,000%. I always say you got to get comfortable with being uncomfortable.
Yeah.
Because it's the uncomfortable when you experience true growth. And one of the biggest things for me is writing my first book, Start Your Business for More Than It's Worth, in 2013. That was a huge game changer for me because nobody knew who I was. I was the best kept secret. I'm selling all these companies, helping business owners exit rich, and nobody knew it because it's private companies, and we can't talk about private companies.
Right.
So that's when I wrote the book, and everybody's like, "Oh my gosh, oh my gosh!" And it was the #1 lead generator. It was a game changer for me. And I was uncomfortable. I was uncomfortable first time I spoke in front of 800 people. I thought I was going to pass out, throw up. And, and I kept trying to talk myself out of it. I kept saying, I don't need to do this. I don't need to go on stage. This is ridiculous. And my mentor at the time said, look, if you don't go up there on your own, I'm going to drag you up there by your hair.
Yeah.
So sometimes you have to have a good mentor just to keep you accountable and push you beyond that comfort level. And again, you'll never grow unless you get comfortable being uncomfortable.
It's so crucial because we think comfort is so prized, right? We think, oh, it'd be so good but actually everything we want, they always, is on the other side of that comfort zone. Really everything. Like Michelle, no one knew about you. And then you decide, I'm going to be bold, be uncomfortable, write the book. And now you're a leader you are, the leader in this space. Right. So I think that's so exciting. And I also, the idea where when we take the new action, they always say confidence is not a feeling. It's a skill developed through consistent action. Yeah. And I love that because that's true with any, self-worth. So we don't just feel it and then I'm inspired, I'm going to take the action. We're usually really scared like you. And the mentor thing is so important because everything changed for me when I got a mentor. The year that I went from 20,000 to 6 figures, mentor. When I wanted to go from 6 to $500,000, next mentor. To the $1 million and multi-million dollar, a new mentor, right?
And it's good that you got a new mentor because what got you to from 20 to 50, 50 to 100, 100 to $500,000 to $1 million is not the same person.
No.
No, what got you there, what got you there won't keep you here. You know what I mean? Won't get you there. What got you here won't get you there is what I meant to say. There's a book. Yeah.
It's a great principle. It's a true principle. It's the same with your team. The team that got you here isn't the team that's going to take you, to your next level necessarily, and often not, right? And that's hard. We don't like change. I don't like it, but it's important, right?
So we talked about, was that 4 steps?
The final one is the result. The final 4 of the 4 steps is have. So be, release, do. We hear be, do, have. I just put in the release step because I was finding people were getting stuck. So be, release, do equals you have the vision. If your vision is the multi-million dollar company or selling your business or getting on TEDx or starting a podcast or starting a philanthropic organization, you will have it by doing the first 3 steps. So that's a receiving step. It's an automatic result. I rode crew. If anyone ever rode, it's such a weird East Coast sport. But anyway, I rode crew in high school. And we had a coach who said, I want to be very clear at the beginning of the season. Our goal is not winning. Our goal is strength and unity, and the result will be winning. And we won everything, national champions, international, we won gold the whole season because he understood that if you focus on the correct pieces of the equation, the winning will happen anyway. And we were undefeated. So I think it's the same in business and entrepreneurship and creativity, be it to get that identity piece going, release the junk that says you can't, all the lies, all the, BS we pick up, and then take the new actions, take the actions aligned with that person you're here to be, that leader that you are, you will have the result. And so those are really the 4 steps, and they've never failed me.
Yeah. And you will have the result, but I also want to say the happiness is not necessarily in achieving the result, it's in the journey.
Yes.
Right. It's in the journey. So everybody's like, oh, I'm so stressed out. I'm trying to get this going. I'm trying to get this productive. You really have to identify your why too. Why do you want to start your business for $100 million? Why do you want to start a podcast? Why do you want a TikTok? Because it's not easy. I mean, running a company is not easy. I run several of them and it's hard work. Yes, and the bottom line is if your why is not strong enough to keep you in the game, if your why is not strong enough to keep you motivated, to keep you weathering all the financial storms and all the other storms that us women go through, because we go through a lot more storms than men do.
Yep.
And so it's imperative to really know that why. When I work with buyers, I'm always like, okay, what's your why? Why do you want to do this? And I got to make sure their why is profound enough to keep them in the game. Like we started a media company one time. We actually merged it with another media company. His why that he wanted to sell for a certain price tag is his wife was diagnosed with a debilitating disease. And he wanted to have enough money to cure her. So the why to me is so important to keep you in the game.
Huge. And it will keep us, when you get those knocks, like I had a team member we needed to let go of. It was really painful earlier this year. It was just, it really hurt, and I kept thinking, but why are we doing this business? And for me, it was a book saved my life. And I'm going to spend the rest of my life paying that forward and making sure that you, Michelle, and, you getting on that TEDx stage or, your message is getting to the person that's needing it, right? I believe it's a call and response. If someone's watching this right now and you're thinking, I know I've got that book in me or that talk in me or that business in me, that's not random. That's being sourced by someone who's in their therapist's office crying like, I need a new solution. I need help. And your book is their help or your talk is their help. And so I really believe it's a call and response. And so so much of my clients say, oh, I don't, who really needs another book on whatever, another talk. It's like, we do. Because Michelle, I could have read a lot of books on how to sell a business, but I really like yours. Yours is the book I want. I'm like, I don't need to look further.
Mine's the best.
It is. I think it is.
It's not just about selling a business. It's all about building a sellable.
Yes.
It's about building a sustainable, scalable business. So when you're ready one day to sell, you don't wake up in a panic and say, I want to sell my business for $20 million and it's worth $1 million.
That's right.
So my book talks about all, building that up.
Yeah.
All right. So I know you have to go. I do want to ask you real quick, how did you get on Oprah and how was it?
Okay. So I will say it was for my very first book, which is a really bizarre, true story of how my son was born, which is that after a lot of trauma my husband and I had, this will be the 30-second version, my mother at almost 60 years old offered to be our surrogate. So just picture the craziness of this. So my son came into the world through his super grandma. She's doing great. He's 11. He just turned 11 and he finished 5th grade. But we had this miraculous experience. And I wrote a memoir because it was a lot about reproductive technology and a lot about just the age we live in. I mean, it's sort of science fiction-y, right? And it was the last week of Oprah's show. And they call, and my mom made a joke. We're not going to do any press unless Oprah calls. Like that was kind of her joke. And the book was in development.
She put it out there in the universe.
Right. She sure did. And then they called. And so we were on the final week of the show and it was magnificent. My mother and I grew up loving watching Oprah together. We adore her. And it was when you meet someone and they're exactly congruent with their external facing person. And that is our experience. And it was loving and fun. And my son recently found a picture of Oprah holding him because the day we were on the show, and he's like, who's this lady holding me? And my husband are like, that lady.
Young people don't know.
I know, is more famous than the president. Okay. So anyway, it was
likable.
Spectacular.
More likable.
much more for sure. So anyway, thanks so much, Michelle, for partnering. Thanks for being in the book. Your story is incredible. You all have to read Michelle's chapter. And I will be shouting Exit Rich from the rooftops always. I love it.
Page 145, I believe it is. 145. And the science of getting rich for women. So tell all of our listeners where they can find your book, how we can help support you in this launch, how we can help you make some of the bestsellers lists.
Thank you very much. I know we just started getting texts this morning that it's hit a bunch of the, all the Amazon lists. So we're excited. You can go right now. We're just inviting everyone to go to Amazon. So if you really just go to the Science of Getting Rich for Women, it'll pop right up and it will be sold in bookstores. We'll be on the book tour this summer, but we're just sending everybody to Amazon today. Keep it really easy and simple. And anyone that decides to get the book today, we're having a few really fun bonuses that you'll see there. And we're going to do a 7 days of riches, which is basically a little mini gift that you'll receive every day for 7 days. And we are donating profits from the launch to United Nations Women. So we really can make that global economic comeback.
Wonderful. Awesome. All right, great. And how can our listeners connect with you if they want to hire you to help them write a book, get a TED Talk?
Yeah.
All the many services that you offer.
Absolutely. Our website is just saraconnell.com, and I'm Sarah without an H. And then on Instagram at Sara Connell. So you can find us on Instagram or on our website.
All right. Well, thank you so much for being a great guest on the Exit Rich podcast. Thanks to all of our listeners, all of our subscribers. If you haven't subscribed to Exit Rich, please go do so. Please share this podcast with all of your friends, your family, your peers, your coworkers. It's good stuff. It's for everybody, right? It's for all women and men, maybe. Do you work with men?
Yeah. And you know what? There's no difference in the system, right? Whether it's selling a company, writing a book, making millions, we're all in it together. Yeah.
So go purchase a book today. Everybody, please go purchase a book. I'm in it. You can read my chapter. And most importantly, let's support Sara in the launch, which is today. So exciting, and connect with her as well. Thank you so much. You've been a wonderful, wonderful guest. And I'm praying that you make all of the list.
Thank you, Michelle.
All
we
right.
know how much we love that. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Thanks for listening to the Exit Rich podcast. Don't forget to check out Michelle Seiler Tucker's Build to Sell Blueprint books and Exit Rich, along with more blogs, videos, and resources at exitrichpodcast.com. Be sure to connect with Michelle on Facebook or LinkedIn and stay tuned for her next episode by subscribing in your favorite podcast player.